0, 1. Let's get started.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Black and White United Show. I'm your host, Andreas. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. In today's video, we're going to just quickly skim over the current Collingwood list and have a quick chat about who we think, or who I think, is going to be delisted or get another go. There's a few players in particular that we're going to talk about. We're not going to go over every single player, but just the ones that are in question, obviously moving in to next season. Obviously, we play Melbourne this Friday, which is going to be a crunch game. We've had some players that were dropped for the game against Adelaide. Are players going to come back in? What's their current situation? What are the players' situations in the VFL also? So let's just have a quick video, touch over some players that could have some question marks on them and also some contracting issues, and we can go from there. The first one that I'm going to bring up, obviously, is Jamie Elliott. So I'll try to do this by number order as well. Jamie Elliott has been presented with a 2-year contract extension from Collingwood. From all reports, this is me just going by what I've heard, obviously, in the media and stuff like that, which I would think in this situation would be correct. Still, we're waiting for him to put pen to paper. I personally think Jamie will sign on. I don't think there's a question about money. I don't think there's a question about loyalty there. I think it's more or less the fact that the I's need to be dotted, the T's need to be crossed, and it'll happen. Obviously, the longer it drags out, the more you start to get a little bit uneasy, but that's with every single player. So, well, obviously, it is a bit of a watch this space, but I'm pretty confident that Jamie will sign on for another 2 years and finish off his career at Collingwood. Number 6, Tom Mitchell. I hate to say it, I think Tom Mitchell won't be at the club next season. Do I think he's still got AFL footy left in him? Yeah, I do, but I don't think it's going to be at the Collingwood Football Club, unfortunately. Came to us a couple years ago, helped us win the 2023 grand final, was an absolute pivotal part in that premiership success, and is a pie for life no matter what. So it'd be sad to see him go, but obviously the club hasn't offered him a contract yet. They're waiting for the others to sign to see what happens, but I do think Tom Mitchell will be at the door. I would love for them to give him one more season if he can come to terms with the obviously negotiations and everything with Collingwood. I'd love to see him, just for depth's sake, be at the club for at least one more year. Was riddled with injuries this year. Obviously had a fantastic preseason, was ready to go. But, things happen, and obviously this has given someone like a Ned Long chance to really cement himself in the Collingwood midfield this season. The next one that I really want to talk about, just VFL-wise, is Harry Di Mattia. Now, he's been at the club for 2 seasons now, and he hasn't played a senior game of footy. I think it's a little bit concerning. Yes, he's had a couple of niggling injuries. I believe he hurt his finger or something when he first came to the club. So there's a little bit of doubt there as to, I don't think he'll play this season. I don't think he'll play against Melbourne. But I do think that obviously he is at the club next season. He needs to break into the side next season. He doesn't have to play every game necessarily, but definitely needs to try and play more games than not. If it doesn't work out for him next year, it's definite trade bait or a delisting, unfortunately, because he was our first pick in the draft a couple of years ago. The next one here, and there's no real contract negotiations or anything happening at the moment, but I just want to bring up Ed Allen. My personal opinion is obviously he's out of favor with fly in, out, in, out. And my personal belief and personal gut feel is that it might be a case of, hey, listen, we want to get a pick off another club or bring another player into the club. And I'll throw this question back to the supporters, could Ed Allen be trade bait? I would love to see him flourish at Collingwood. He's got the right height, the right size, got the right speed. I just think his disposal and sometimes his positioning does let him down. And he's had a couple of seasons now to break in, and he had a really decent patch this season. He is a WA boy there, so obviously there will be interest from the WA clubs moving forward, but we'll obviously watch this space and see. That's just a personal one that I wanted to throw up there. Finn McRae, unfortunately, I think this will be his last season at the club. He hasn't had the greatest of successes at Collingwood, and I also think that with his injuries this season and stuff, that his form in the twos has actually been quite good the last couple of weeks. So he's obviously pushing there to try and get himself noticed there by the coaches to see if there's a potential finals berth there for him. But I highly doubt it. And I do think that he will probably be delisted at the end of the season. Tujai, again, another player that's injured. He's obviously contracted with the club. That's great. Next season, I want to see him being an almost starter off the halfback. I want him to try and push and put some really good pressure, on those senior players. He won't play every game next season, but if he can put his hand up and have a really good season, he could be the secret weapon that we were looking for in defense that might already be up our sleeve. And that also is with another player who plays in a very similar style, very similar position, and that's Jacob Ryan. I think TJ and Jacob Ryan are in the same boat here. They both had season-ending injuries. I do believe that Jacob Ryan might be slightly behind TJ in the pecking order. But with that being said, Jacob Ryan is someone who I believe can break into the back line and have a real massive impact, especially if there is any significant injuries to our already to the already locked key defenders. So those two really do need to have a massive preseason and season next year. Reef obviously did his knee. He'll be back next season. That's another cog in the back line. Will they continue him in the back line if someone like a Jack Silvani comes to Collingwood? It may have some impact on his positioning. Or do we play Reef and play Sauce if he does come, and then someone like a Billy Frampton goes back into our reserves? Who knows? That's going to be a massive, massive story if Sauce does come across, which I think he will. An interesting one here for us is the positioning of Lachie Sullivan in our list. Now, he played like 14 games this season, and he really helped us, especially in that period where we were winning games. He has had impact in games, especially when Jordan De Goey wasn't playing. He sort of played that role. Obviously not up to Geordie's level, but was a real good contributor. I do hope that he stays on for another couple of more years as a depth player, because with Sullivan, when he does come into the side, he is going to give you 110%. So I'm hoping that we can sort of keep him in there for the next couple of years. Another one that I wanted to quickly mention was Harvey Harrison. Obviously did his knee last season, tried to come back this year through preparation, was expected to come back potentially after the King's birthday break, then just re-injured it just with the loads and stuff like that. So he's not available this season, which is really unfortunate. Harvey Harrison is going to be a star at Collingwood. Harvey Harrison is going to be a player which they need to keep, because I feel that he has got the potential to be an absolute secret weapon for our forwards, and someone who can come into the side and demand that players like a Lachie Schultz, players like a Beau McCreary, players like a Bobby Hill, players like even Jordan De Goey when he's playing forward, and Jamie Elliott, if he does re-sign and stay at Collingwood, he is going to demand that those players play at their absolute best, because he will come in and take that spot. Oleg Markov, I think this will be his last year at Collingwood, was demoted to the rookie list this year, has played some games this year, hasn't done that bad of a job when he's played. Obviously, he's come on as a sub and he's been, rested and stuff like that throughout the majority of the games, and then's come on, has given us that extra run, which has been fantastic. But I do think the boat's sort of gone past him now, unfortunately, and he will be given the chop at the end of the season. And it'll be sad because apart from obviously Jack Inovan going to Hawthorn, so that's a trade, it doesn't really count. And with Murphy retiring, Markov will be the first premiership player, I believe, for the Collingwood Football Club from the 2023 premiership, I believe, that will be delisted. So, Forever a Pie, thank you so much and we'll see there. Obviously, with Tom Mitchell also. But I think Mitchell would be, if one of those two had to stay, I think they would pick Tom Mitchell. Jeremy Howe gets the contract for one more season. And then obviously the continuation from that is a coaching role at the club. I think Jeremy Howe will be a Collingwood assistant coach or a Collingwood backline coach when he retires for at least a couple of years and then potentially relocate down to Tassie if they do come into the AFL. I think that's a given, and he'll probably head back home. Ash Johnson, I do think, will be delisted from our team. He was on the rookie list last season. I think the only reason why we didn't delist him and we got rid of Kruger last season was because Ash Johnson was in contract. So obviously we couldn't do anything with that one there, which was, unfortunate for it was unfortunate for Krugs, but at the same time, it was good for Ash Johnson. I actually think that Ash Johnson probably would have broken into the team here and there throughout the year if he didn't break his leg, obviously, in the VFL. Wouldn't have been a consistent thing, but obviously it would have been like, oh, hang on a second, we've got to give him a go, senior player. If he's ready to go, why not? But, thank you for your efforts and your time with the club, but I don't think that you're going to be there next season. I will say, though, if Ash Johnson didn't have a broken wrist in 2023 leading up into the final series, he would have played in the grand final and not Billy Frampton. I think Ash Johnson would have got that spot. That's my personal opinion because we needed that forward, and I think that he would have played, but it wasn't to be. So thanks for your efforts, Ash, and all the best for the future, but I don't think you'll be at the Collingwood Football Club, unfortunately, next season. My check's the big one. I was like, oh my God, we have to sign him. And from what I'm led to believe, he has agreed to terms with the club. This is what I've heard. He has agreed to terms with the club, but there was a rumor going out that his manager was actually overseas and the contract hadn't been signed yet. So I'm not sure how much truth that is to it. I'm not sticking by it. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying it's what I've heard. So look, the way that my check played against Adelaide, if he decided to go to to Melbourne or to Sydney, I'm probably one of the only Collingwood supporters that really wouldn't blink an eye too much. He's been fantastic for the football club. He has been amazing since we've picked him up. We got him for nothing. He played in 2 grand finals. He's a premiership player. He is Collingwood through and through. But if he decided to go somewhere else for an extra year or it was just a little bit of money or whatever, look, I personally myself wouldn't be too fussed about it. We've got McCarthy coming in from part of the NGA, and also we are going to go after King from Gold Coast. There is no ifs or buts about that. So we're going to probably need that space eventually, and he's only got a couple of years left, so I don't think it's doom and gloom if he does leave. If I had the choice, though, I'd obviously love him to stay. Charlie Dean's a big one. He's always been one major injury away from being delisted, so this is a bit of a watch this space. Hasn't really impressed this season. He had that one good game against Richmond, but it was against Richmond, so I'm not sure what's going to happen there. We just have to sort of wait and see. The last one that I want to talk about is Mason Cox. Now, Mason Cox, I think, is the best tap ruckman in the AFL, and people can criticize me all they want. When it comes to tapping the ball to advantage, he is the best at it simply because of his height and because of the strength that he's got with his height. Around the ground, no. He's a pure backup ruckman. That is it. Structurally, though, the way that Collingwood structured, he's actually very important to our side. When he does play, most of the time we win. I'm pretty sure at the moment it's sitting at about 70% of things. Last time I checked the stat, it was at 85. We have lost a few games in there. I think it's currently sitting at about 70% winning ratio when Mason Cox plays in the team. We know he's had some standout games for us. We know the 2018 prelim. We know the 2020 elimination final. There was a Queen's birthday game. He did well. There was a couple of Anzac Day games. He did well. There was a game where he got 5 possessions against Essendon in the wet, and I don't even think they were possessions. I think they were just taps or whatever. But the way he creates the contest, if he can bring the ball to ground, especially when he relieves the ruckmans and he goes, or when he's playing and he goes up forward and then he pinch hits in the ruck and stuff. It's just been so valuable to us. And any Collingwood supporter can say that he has brought value to our football club. He's a premiership player and he was vital in our premiership success. And there's no one can doubt that. Unfortunately, I think the game is slightly moving past him, which is really, really sad to see. What that means for him for next year, he has, along with Tom Mitchell, been told to wait. Now, there was 2 things with Ilaru Smith and obviously Oscar Steen being offered contract extensions for another season. That casts a doubt over Cox. We also have been linked with Reeves from Hawthorn, which has been publicly said in the media. So he would be a backup ruckman, obviously, to DC if that was the case. So that means that Cox is obviously, not in favour. We know that if Mason did get a contract extension for another year, we know that that would definitely be his last year. My personal opinion is he probably does need to go now. If another club wants to pick him up for a season, I think someone like a GWS would be amazing for him, being the backup ruckman to Briggs. They don't really have much ruck stocks, so I think he'd be awesome there. I also think he would potentially find a home at Essendon, especially if Draper was to leave and Goldstein stayed for another year, and you'd have Mason Cox obviously being a backup there. I don't think he'll be at Collingwood next year, unfortunately, but I just want to see for however many games we've got left this season, whether it's just the 2, so it being an elimination final we lose, or if we happen to make a qualifying final, if the game demands that Cox needs to play, if the game says that, hey, structurally he's a good fit in the side, I really do hope that he does get that opportunity, and then you just never know what could happen. But my personal opinion is that he won't be there for next season. That's pretty much all I'll take at the moment from going through the list. If there's anyone else that you guys have questions about, please drop a comment below and tell me what you think. Call it as you see it. And as always, go the Pies.